Are there other things you can do that maybe mimic or act like GLP-1s that without using the drug? There are natural things you can do that are, of course, functioning as GLP-1s. I mean, GLP-1 is not the GLP-1 agonists and the receptors in your gut are natural things that you've always had, and your body utilizes it to try to improve satiety and blood sugar control. The problem is we don't get enough nutrients and ingredients that function like GLP-1 agonists. So a main category of nutrients are bitters, right? So I've been using the Just Thrive Health digestive bitters, bitters like, dandelion root and berberine, for example, coptis, and a number of things. These natural bitters are the natural GLP-1 agonists. Right. So that's what nature has designed as GLP-1 agonists, and probably why we developed these receptors in the first place. And then some of those receptors also, when you bind them, upregulate some of the digestive processes. Just keep in mind that digestive bitters are your natural GLP-1 agonists. That's what is supposed to be doing that function. The pharmaceuticals are based on these natural compounds. Right? We have bitter receptors all throughout our digestive tract, right? So in our mouth, starting in our mouth, stomach, small, large intestine, pancreas, gallbladder, and so on. And we're littered with bitter receptors, and they do many different things in the process of digestion, which indicates that, we've evolved to require bitters in our food, but we've basically completely removed bitters from our food because it's not a good palatable experience for modern people anymore, right? Our ancestors and even our great grandparents consumed a lot of bitters all the time. And so, taking a bitter supplement to me has been the second most important thing I take for digestion. They are your natural GLP-1 agonist. Now, just a quick matter of difference between a natural GLP-1 agonist and the drugs, and why the drugs have the side effects and natural ones don't. Your natural GLP-1 agonists sit on the on the GLP-1 receptors in the digestive tract for a matter of minutes. That's how the system is designed, right? You get a GLP-1 agonist compound in your food, or your microbiome produces one, and what it does is it hops on the GLP-1 receptor. It activates a cascade of functions, including digestive secretions and bile secretions and satiety signals and all of this stuff, right? It can activate all those things, and then it hops off the receptor, or it gets degraded. It gets enzymatically degraded, really, is what happens. And then that way it doesn't bind the receptor for too long, right? So naturally, you're supposed to bind GLP-1 receptors for about 2 or 3 minutes, right? That's the natural process. When they made the drugs, they altered it so that it would sit on the receptor for up to 7 days,
Oh my
right? So it's
goodness.
continuously on the receptor. So that's a huge physiological difference from how the natural system works. That's where you get all the side effects from, because that's so unusual to have a GLP-1 agonist compound sitting on the receptor for that long when it normally sits on there for just a couple days. So just so people
Wow.
understand, you don't have the same risks of taking natural GLP-1 things like bitters and so on, because they're not designed like the pharmaceuticals to sit on the receptor for so long. Right? It's not hyperbolic to estimate that around 60% of the digestive stimulus, right, which is the stimulus needed to actually digest your food properly, which is the movement of the bowels, the gastric emptying, the secretion of hydrochloric acid, the secretion of pepsin, the secretion of digestive enzymes from the pancreas or pancreatin, and all that. Like all of these digestive processes, about 60% of the stimulus for that to happen comes from bitter receptor stimulation. That if people aren't getting bitters in their diet, which nobody are,
Hmm.
we're missing out on more than half of the digestive stimulus, which is not surprising why digestive issues are so rampant in among people, right? We're not breaking down our
Yeah.
foods completely. We're not moving the food through the digestive system adequately. We're not secreting enough enzymes. We're not secreting enough bile. We're not secreting enough stomach acid to actually break up the food the way we need to, which is also part of the reason we overeat, because the digestion of the food is part of what triggers signals that, hey, we have enough food, stop eating. And so all of these very, very common symptomologies that people tend to face could be traced back to a lack of stimulation of the digestive process.
Wow.
And bitter receptors are more than half of that stimulation, right?
Makes
So
so much sense. And then it's like when you say all that, it's like, well, no wonder everyone's in SIBO.
yeah,
And
exactly. It's
yeah.
so common. No wonder IBS is so common, right? Irritable
Crohn's.
bowel,
Yeah.
all of these conditions. So I think bitters should be fundamental to people. Like
Mm.
I would even say, if you were to have me rank, I would say bitters are probably even more important than digestive enzymes, as foundational, right? I would put bitters and spores kind of hand in hand there as like top tier levels of importance.